Planning a trip to Hong Kong in 2026? This is your ultimate Hong Kong travel guide covering top attractions, local gems, and the food scene. From Victoria Peak and the Big Buddha to Victoria Harbour and Tai O fishing village, we cover it all. Whether you have a weekend or a longer trip, this guide will save you time and money. Skip the tourist traps with local tips and smart planning advice. We start with the big one, Victoria Peak. At 552 meters, it's the highest point on Hong Kong Island, and the Peak Tram, the city's oldest form of public transport, is still the best way up. Sit on the right side of the tram for the best views as you climb. At the top, the Sky Terrace 428 viewing deck gives you the classic postcard shot of the skyline and harbor below, and it's honestly even better after dark when the whole city lights up. Next, Victoria Harbour. Hop on the Star Ferry. It costs next to nothing and gives you one of the best skyline views in the world for the price of a coffee. Walk the Avenue of Stars on the Kowloon side afterward, where you'll find handprints honoring Hong Kong film legends like Jackie Chan. Note, the harbor's long-running nightly light show is being phased out and replaced with newer, more modern shows across different iconic locations in 2026, so check what's currently running before you plan your evening around it. Everyone knows Hong Kong as a skyline of glass towers crammed onto a tiny island. But just a 25-minute cable car ride away sits something almost nobody talks about, an island twice the size of Hong Kong Island itself, covered in mountains, forgotten temples, feral cattle, pirate hideouts, and a giant bronze Buddha staring out at the South China Sea. This is Lantau, and its history is nothing like you'd expect from a place that also happens to have Hong Kong Disneyland on it. Lantau Island, home to the Tiantan Buddha, the world's largest outdoor seated bronze Buddha at over 34 meters tall, including its base. Take the Ngong Ping 360 cable car to get there. It's a scenic ride over mountains and sea, and if you want the thrill factor, book a glass-bottom cabin. Once you're up, climb the 268 steps to the statue's base and visit the adjacent Polin Monastery, known for its intricate architecture and Buddhist vegetarian restaurants. Back on Hong Kong Island, spend an afternoon in Central, where colonial-era buildings sit right next to glass skyscrapers. Ride the Central Mid-Levels Escalator, the longest outdoor covered escalator system in the world, and duck into Man Mo Temple for a moment of quiet, incense-filled calm in the middle of the financial district. Walk 5 minutes off one of Hong Kong's busiest streets, past antique shops and coffee bars, and you'll step through a doorway into 1847. Smoke, silence. Giant spirals of incense burning slowly overhead, some of them weeks old. This is Man Mo Temple, and it's not just Hong Kong's most photographed temple. It's basically a museum of how Hong Kong governed itself before it had modern courts, police, or hospitals. The name Man Mo literally means civil and martial because the temple is dedicated to two very different gods. Man Chiang is the god of literature, holding a writing brush. Mo Tai, also known as Quan Tai, or Quan Yu is the god of war, holding a sword. Both were believed to be real historical figures once. A 3 RD century scholar official and a legendary 2 ND century warrior. Together they represent something very specific, the balance between intellect and strength. In the days of the Qing dynasty's civil examination system, students and scholars would come here to pray for success before their exams. Quan Tai, meanwhile, became one of the most widely worshipped figures in Chinese folk religion, patron not just of soldiers, but of restaurants, pawnbrokers, and even secret societies. And if you're into art and culture, the West Kowloon Cultural District has become one of the city's biggest additions in recent years. The M+ Museum and Hong Kong Palace Museum alone are worth a half day if contemporary art or ancient Chinese court culture interest you. Both museums sit inside the West Kowloon Cultural District, a 40-hectare arts precinct built entirely on reclaimed land along the harbor front. The idea dates back to the late 1990s, when the Hong Kong government envisioned a world-class cultural quarter to rival places like London's South Bank or New York's Lincoln Center. The plan eventually grew to include theaters, performance venues, a 2-kilometer waterfront promenade, and 2 flagship museums that would end up telling completely different stories about what culture means in Hong Kong. On the far western edge of Lantau Island, past the airport, past Disneyland, past the Big Buddha, there's a village where people still live in wooden houses built directly over the water, the same way their families have for generations. Locals call it home. Tourists call it the Venice of Hong Kong. But Tai O's real story isn't about postcard views. It's about a community that got pushed onto the water by discrimination, survived pirates, fires, and mass migration, and somehow never left. To understand Tai O, you have to understand the people who built it. The Tanka, a community of boat-dwelling fishermen who had lived on the waters of southern China for centuries. Some accounts trace the roots of stilt living here back as far as the Song or Ming dynasty, though most historians agree permanent settlement at Tai O solidified around 200 to 300 years ago during the Qing dynasty. Here's the practical problem the Tanka faced. A typical fishing boat, a sampan, was only about 20 feet long, nowhere near enough space to raise a family. But the Tanka also weren't accustomed to living fully on land, so they compromised. They built simple wooden houses on stilts right at the water's edge, close enough to keep their boats tied up underneath, safe enough to shelter children and elders while the rest of the family fished. There's a harder truth behind this too. The Tanka faced centuries of discrimination from land-based farming communities and the colonial bureaucracy, who viewed a semi-nomadic boat people with suspicion. Building on the water at the literal edge between land and sea wasn't just practical. It reflected where Tai O's people were allowed to belong. At its peak, Tai O wasn't some sleepy backwater. It was a genuinely important trading hub. Sitting right at the mouth of the Pearl River Delta, close to Guangzhou, one of China's major ports for foreign trade, Tai O's harbor was reportedly once as busy as Hong Kong's own Central District is today. Around 500 fishing boats operated out of Tai O at its height, and the village's catch alone accounted for roughly a quarter of all of Hong Kong's fishing yield. Tai O also built an economy around salt production. By 1940, its salt marshes covered around 70 acres and were producing over 1,000 tons of salt a year. Between fish, salt, and shrimp paste, still one of Tai O's most famous exports today, this tiny stilt village was, for a time, one of the most economically important places in the entire region. Here's the truth about Hong Kong. Dim sum is not just a meal, it is a cultural institution, and the name literally translates to touch your heart. Go with a group so you can order a big spread and share. Classic must-orders are har gow, siu mai, chung fun rice noodle rolls, and baked or steamed barbecue pork buns. Go early, as the best spots fill up fast, while some legendary late-night dim sum joints in neighborhoods like Kennedy Town are packed with locals from 3 a.m. onward. For street food, head to neighborhoods like Mong Kok or Sham Shui Po. This is where you'll find curry fish balls, crispy egg waffles, and street-style chung fun tossed in sesame and chili sauce, completely different from the restaurant version and honestly just as good. It's some of the most budget-friendly eating you'll do in the entire city. Don't skip roast meats. Cantonese roast goose and char siu, barbecue pork, are practically religion here. Look for a shop with a line of locals outside. That's usually your best sign of quality over flash. And for something classic and comforting, find a bowl of wonton noodles at an old-school noodle shop, or seek out a dai pai dong, an open-air street kitchen using powerful wok burners that give dishes their signature smoky wok Thai flavor. These open-air spots are a dying breed in the city, so they're worth prioritizing while you can still find them. To cap off a night out, Hong Kong's cocktail scene has exploded in recent years. The Soho and Lan Kwai Fong areas are packed with bars, and one of them has recently been ranked among the very best bars in the entire world. So it's worth booking ahead if you want a table. Back on Hong Kong Island, walk Hollywood Road, one of the city's oldest streets, lined with antique shops and banyan trees growing straight out of stone retaining walls. Just off it is PMQ, a former police residential quarters turned creative hub full of independent designer studios and boutique shops. Sham Shui Po market stalls, local eateries. For a side of the city most tourists skip entirely, spend a few hours in Sham Shui Po. It is a working-class neighborhood packed with electronics markets, fabric shops, and some of the best value local eateries in the city. And if you want to escape the density completely, ferries from Central will get you to the outlying islands in under an hour. Cheung Chau feels like an old fishing village frozen in time, with famous street food like fish balls, while Lama Island offers hiking trails and a much slower pace of life, just minutes from one of the densest cities on the planet. Quick reality check on cost. Hong Kong can run anywhere from budget-friendly to genuinely expensive depending on how you travel. Street food and dim sum keep daily eating costs low. Transit is cheap and efficient with an octopus card. But hotels in Central and Tsim Sha Tsui can get pricey fast. The good news is some of the best experiences, the Star Ferry, the outlying islands, walking Hollywood Road, cost next to nothing. That's Hong Kong. If this helped you plan your trip, hit subscribe, drop a like, and let me know in the comments. Where should we cover next?